Hello, I'm Ghida Fakhry. Welcome to this edition of Talk to Al Jazeera. Our guest today is Iraq's Foreign Minister, Hoshyar Zebari. Mr. Minister, the US and Iraq have been negotiating two agreements for some time now, a strategic framework and also the status of force agreement with the United States. Your Prime Minister has said that the negotiations were at a dead end. You suggested otherwise. Would you say, though, that your government is under pressure, both internally and from Iran?
First of all, let me say that the government position is to continue this negotiation and talks to reach a viable, acceptable agreement where both the Iraqi people and the American people also would be satisfied. And in fact, I've spoken with the Prime Minister that the position has not changed. The government is committed to continue these talks. And there has been recently some alternatives to the divisive issues or the tricky issues in the SOFA. And the negotiators will resume talks formally and officially very soon.
What does it mean, though? Were you able to get some concessions from the American? Because the Prime Minister clearly said there were issues that encroach on your sovereignty.
There has been flexibility on the American side on a number of the issues that matters to us. But to come back to your question, in fact, when we started this, it was with a political consensus by all the key Iraqi political leaders. And when the Prime Minister last November signed with President Bush on the Declaration of Principle, these talks, these agreements was part of that declaration. So it's not one party favor it, another party oppose to it. But this is a sensitive issue, as you know. All SOFA's agreement, which you have many, even in the Arab world, with Kuwait, with Saudi Arabia, with Qatar, with Bahrain, with Egypt.
But these countries weren't occupied by the US.
No,
Iraq
but they
is in a
have
different
presence.
position.
No, they have military presence, they have bases, they have larger bases than we have, and so on. So what we need is really to regulate, to organize this presence to be acceptable. Especially, we have made a commitment that we want to end the mandate of the multinational forces by the end of 2008, according to the Security Council Resolution 1790. And to replace that, we need this strategic framework agreement and the SOFA to be able, let's say, to build on what we have achieved in terms of progress and successes and the rehabilitation, the training of our security forces. So that's why really it is an Iraqi need, this agreement.
Is this the right time for you to be negotiating such a far-reaching agreement when your country, it is widely perceived as being still, maybe not under legal terms, but in political terms, under foreign occupation with about 150,000 US troops on your soil? Yeah. There is that perception. Doesn't a deal like this reinforce that notion?
Well, let me clarify this. Really, the term of occupation has changed by international law. These forces are in Iraq, working, operating, helping at the request of the Iraqi elected government, and it's mandated by the Security Council. So this presence is sanctioned by international legitimacy.
But that is about to change.
No. This is the status, I'm talking to you, according to the terms of the international law, okay? So this presence has been accepted by the majority of the Iraqi people, not by all of them. There are a minority who have been fighting, who have been
but in political terms, Mr. Minister,
so
in political terms, there's that widely shared perception that you're still under foreign occupation.
You have UNIFIL forces in Lebanon, okay, operating under a Security Council resolution. They are not an occupying force.
But again, you just made the point that these are Security Council resolutions.
Exactly.
Why the rush now to get out of this international legitimacy and go into a bilateral agreement with the very same controversial US administration that invaded your country?
No. Again, really, I'll correct you, see, because we have grown you see, in self-confidence and stronger belief that we are turning the corner. I mean, this presence is not indefinite. The day will come when there would be no foreign troops or American troops on Iraqi soil. And that's why this international legitimacy, it was very helpful, very useful, but we want to go back to a normal status.
But why negotiate with a virtual gun at your head? Why not take your time to negotiate on terms that don't make so many political forces in Iraq uneasy?
There is no guns at our head, okay? And this is a sovereign Iraqi decision to do it or not do it. And we've said, unlike many other countries whose SOFA's agreements are confidential and secretive, we've said this would be a transparent, open process. And when we reach a final conclusion, we will present it to the Council of Representatives, to the Iraqi representatives, to ratify it. So there is no hidden agenda here. There is no hidden or secretive arrangements or attachments.
But how sovereign can you really be in negotiating such an agreement when there are so many U.S. forces you rely on for the stability of your government in your own country?
Well, sovereignty and the presence of these troops really not necessarily match, as according to your interpretation. There are American troops in many countries in the world, in Japan, in Germany, in Turkey,
but not in these numbers.
In Qatar,
not in these numbers,
Kuwait.
Surely.
Okay, no, that's a relative thing.
And these countries
but the very
war.
presence of foreign troops, okay, in a country doesn't mean that you've done away with your sovereignty. I just wanted to correct you on that. And I'm very pleased that there has been a great deal of flexibility by the American side. I mean, one issue of immunities, for instance, that was very controversial was the immunity for private contractors.
Will you accept any immunity for private contractors?
No, absolutely not.
Will you make sure the agreement states explicitly that there will be no immunity?
Absolutely. There would be no immunity whatsoever for private contractors because of what we've gone through with them in the past and because of the sensitivities to the Iraqi people.
Is that a demand the U.S. has accepted?
It has accepted now. And also we are finding alternatives formulations for all these areas of internment, for instance, in terms for the authorization to launch military operations. So all these detailed discussions actually are ongoing. And as we speak today with you, in fact, this exchange is taking place in Baghdad. It's taking place here in Washington. And we've made it very clear to the two candidates, really, that this agreement is in Iraq's interest, in the United States' interest, and in the region's interest. Especially a strong, prosperous, viable Iraq would be the best insurance policy in the region.
But why is it in Iraq's interest? Are you concerned that an Obama presidency may lead to the swift withdrawal of U.S. troops and the fact that the U.S. under his presidency may leave Iraq to sort out its own predicament? Is that the real reason for your rush?
No, I think I explained it to Senator Obama, and he reassured me, really. If they win the election, there wouldn't be any drastic or reckless decision to withdraw the troops. Any decision he will make for a timetable withdrawal, redeployment, will be made through close consultation with the Iraqi government and with the U.S. military commanders on the ground. But that is his intention.
But he has said publicly that if elected, he will begin the process of withdrawing U.S. troops.
I know, but you will hear actually, I don't know what will happen, definitely, but there wouldn't be any reckless, irresponsible, dramatic decision by his administration, you see, concerning that, because he knows the complexity, because he fully understands the regional dimensions, the regional challenges, and the seriousness if Iraq is lost or if Iraq suffered from a vacuum of security, of stability.
Who is setting the agenda, though? Because we heard Washington come out quite often and say it had to be done by July. Is it Washington or Baghdad?
No, I think it's a mutual interest, in fact. I mean, the reason for that, or the rationale, we want to conclude it by the end of July, not to make it an issue in the election campaign or a divisive issue, that this piece is taken care of, okay? I mean, there would be positions by the two candidate debates and so on Iraq, but at least really not to make it a controversial, divisive issue for
But it is becoming one, especially in Iraq. You've got many political forces that have come out in opposition to this agreement. I mean, don't you risk undermining the prospect of a national and political consensus in Iraq?
No. I mean, when we say that this agreement would be transparent, it would be taken to the Council of Representatives. As you said, it needs the widest, the largest possible political support.
Some people are asking for more time.
This talk should continue, and we don't have a document yet. We don't have an agreement, so why this fuss? I mean, wait until we finalize. You don't negotiate over the television or the media and so on. Really, these are technical, legal discussions that needs to be materialized.